Welcome to Slow Your Scroll, where we get to meet some of Hawaii's biggest content creators. Today's guest is not only making his mark on social media, he's also rubbing shoulders with some of Hollywood's biggest names. Our guest, Russell Satele. Welcome.
Hey, what's up, bro?
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
We will get to some of those big names shortly, but I want to start before you were in content, because through my little bit of research about you online, it said you were born in Ridgecrest, California, which, again, I'm not sure is true or not. You can't believe everything you see online.
True.
But if you're born in Ridgecrest, what brought you to Hawaii?
Okay, so that is true. I was actually indeed born in Ridgecrest, California, but I came to Hawaii when I was about 2 years old. My dad, they had bought a house back in the 70s, and he ended up getting a job out in Ridgecrest, California. And little backstory on that: my biological parents, or at least my biological mom, she's first cousins with my dad that I was adopted by. So I was adopted, and they were out there. He was working a job out in Ridgecrest, California, and she was pregnant at the time. My dad right now wanted to have more kids, but they weren't able to, and I would have grown up without a father. So they kind of made that exchange, and they were living in Ridgecrest, so she moved from Samoa to Ridgecrest, gave birth to me there, and then we moved here about when I was 2 years old.
And you've lived in Hawaii ever since?
And I've been in Hawaii ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
And growing up, at least what I've seen again online, is that you went to Mililani. Did you grow up in Mililani?
Yes. I've never left Mililani. I've been in Mililani my whole life. From elementary all the way up to high school, I've been just Mililani strong.
And when you were going to Mililani High School, you played football.
I played football, yes.
Were you a defensive end or outside tackle?
Originally, I went out for wide receiver because, that's the one that makes all the skills plays and stuff like that. So I never played football prior. I would always play it in the street with my homies. And one day, I think they never let me pretty much play at Pop Warner because they didn't want me to get hurt and all that. So when I finally got to high school, I was able to play. And I went out for wide receiver the first day of tryouts. And I remember this clear as day. It was a Hail Mary route, and I was running the route. They bombed it, and I looked up and put my hands out, and the ball was like 10 yards ahead. I was like, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, sir, you're going to defense.
Go tackle some people."
Yeah, go tackle some people. So, you ever tried linebacker before? I'm like, no, I never did, but I'm open to it. So, I played linebacker from freshman all the way to junior year, and my senior year I played stand-up defensive end. So, that was cool.
Yeah. And what have you ever been injured playing football? Like, what's the hardest hit you've ever?
That's the craziest thing. I've never. The most injury I've had during football would probably be a sprained ankle, but I've never had a concussion. I've never broken any bones. The only time I've ever broken a bone was I fell out of a mango tree playing hide and seek.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was about like a 150-pound sixth grader hiding in a tree. Thought I was the slyest guy ever. They were coming around me to find me, and
Is this hide and seek?
this was hide and seek. Yeah, hide and seek, and I got scared. I thought they were gonna find me, and sure enough, they found me because I fell out of the tree and broke my wrist. So yeah.
Oh wow. So with football, it looked like from some of the videos I saw online that you had some aspirations maybe to go play at the next level. I saw you in
Very much so.
in what was it, the Pacific Islands Athletic Alliance Combine.
Yeah.
And so I saw some of the numbers you put up. There's 6 reps at 225 on the bench and a 4.940. What were your aspirations going into that combine?
So originally, another backstory. Growing up with the last name Satele, there's a lot of other distant relatives that I have that have made it big here in Hawaii, specifically in the football scene. And so every time I'd get like a roll call at like elementary school and stuff like that, everyone would ask me, "Hey, are you related to like Brashton and them?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'd claim it every time.
But you didn't know for sure.
Literally, I never knew. I never actually met them personally, but I would claim it all the time because it just, it gave me some sense of pride just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So then from that young age and seeing them do their thing at UH and shine, they were part of that Colt Brennan team and just go undefeated. I was like, man, I want to play football.
I'm a Satele. I'm a
Satele. I can do this thing.
Yeah.
And my older brothers played, but they didn't really pursue it. They played all Pop Warner and stuff. And once they graduated, I kind of wanted to make a name for myself. So originally I wanted to, that was one of the main goals to get me through school was to play football so I could, be able to go to school.
And when did you make that? It was after high school that you made that transition where you're like, all right, well, football is not gonna take me where I need to go.
Exactly.
And then I read you have a degree in justice administration from UH West Oahu.
Yes. So that was the whole college jump for me. So originally coming out of high school, I had a couple like smaller school offers, like D3s, away from home, but I was so prideful. I wanted to play for D1. I wanted to play for UH specifically. And I had a walk-on spot that I had arranged, I think, my sophomore year of college. And so I had to transfer to Manoa because I started my college degree at UH West. So I had to transfer to Manoa. And when I got there, I had to be like a full-time student. So I pretty much paid double the price I would at West Oahu just for that one semester, just on the a whim that I'm gonna make the team.
This little
chance that I can do the thing. And I was so gung ho about it. I felt it in myself that I was gonna do it, and transferred, did the whole walk on, and didn't get called back. So transferred back to West Oahu and kind of made a decision like, okay, maybe it's time to hang it up. So finished my degree at West Oahu with criminal justice because that was the only major at the time that really interested me out of everything that was offered there. Like I don't think there was like a theater or a media degree at the time, so I ended up doing criminal justice. So
what were your aspirations with that criminal justice degree? Did you have a goal in mind with that?
No, it was kind of that thing where like it interested me, but it wasn't something I was truly like passionate about. It was just something to kind of finish the degree, instead of like starting college and then never finishing, So I kind of just made up, if I were to get like a legit 9-to-5, what would I be comfortable kind of doing every single day without wanting to gouge my eyes out,
Yeah, I mean, I talked with Kulani, one of your fellow content creators, and he talked to me about his 9-to-5, and it was, again, a very painful experience for him. So I imagine it would be similar to you, someone who's obviously very creative.
Yeah. So like being stuck in I've only had 2 legit, I would say, jobs so far. So like my first job was I was a dishwasher at the Chili's in Mililani. And man, I can work hard, but golly, these people, like, I've never felt so degraded in my life, like, to the point, and every single day, like, we would start, I think my day would start at 3 o'clock, and I wouldn't finish till, like, 2 in the morning sometimes, and I would come into, like, dishes just piled up. Nobody would be in the front, or other dishes from the front and the back were all stacked up, and I'd come in, and just me, and until one of my other partners came in at, like, 7 o'clock. And I'm over here trying to bang out stuff, scrubbing dishes, people throwing ramekins, it's splashing in my eyes. I'm like, damn, this is what working is like. This is how, and I didn't mind it. Yeah. But just seeing the, what I received in working that hard, the pay was very minimum wage at the time was $10, maybe $9. Yeah, $9 an hour. And my first check, I remember, was like a $200 check after a full 2 weeks of work.
And did they even split the tips with you, the front of the house staff?
I've never seen, nope. I didn't even know that was a thing until after I left, of course. But, just like experiencing that. And then from doing that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go find me a job that's exact opposite. That takes less stress on the body, and it's a little bit easier to do. And so I applied for a security guard, and that's pretty much where majority of my work was when I was in college. I was doing security work.
Is that with Securitas or?
That was actually Andrews International at first, and then they got bought out by like 2 different companies, and they ended up being Allied Universal afterwards.
Where were you a security guard at?
I started out at Waikele Outlets.
Okay.
So over there.
That's a nice area.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah. Did you run into any trouble? Any loitering kids, or what was
the time? Loitering kids wasn't too bad over there. It was like these there's a lot of break-ins over there. There's a lot of UEMVs, so a lot of people just breaking into cars, and they're quick too. It could be like 10 seconds and they're out of there. That's all they need. And it's a very crowded mall. There's like multiple of us, but still they'll get away easy.
What's one of the more like interesting interactions? Because I'm sure you've had plenty of interesting calls that you've been on for a security job like that.
So there was this one. I recently worked in Haleiwa, my most recent security job, and there was this one lady. She was very, very, one with herself, and she was just, she would walk onto property, pretty much everything hanging out, cruising, smells like a bag of onions, and she's just screaming at the top of her lungs. She's going in on every name in the book. And of course I get called to handle the situation, so I show up. As soon as I show up, the minute she sees me, roasts me right off the bat. I would say what she called me, but probably get canceled. So she called me every name in the book, and pretty much just it was very very degrading, but kind of funny at the same time.
You have to have a sense of humor, I'm sure, with a job like that.
That kind of thing, because they're not all there, obviously. But yeah, that'll probably be my most memorable situation.
So you had mentioned earlier you went into the criminal justice field, or the degree, because there wasn't a theater or kind of acting degree at the time.
Yeah.
Were you from a young age kind of drawn to entertainment? Were you always kind of I don't know if like class clown is the right term, or were you always kind of out there? Were you in theater as a kid?
Not really. I was to be honest, and still to this day, I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert at heart. So I honestly, when it came to acting, like I've always had a passion for it, but society tells you one thing to do this, and then you kind of like you go towards that route, but then your heart tells you something else. So like I've always had the interest in doing acting, but when it came to like the whole school thing and getting a degree, with a job that'll be a long-term kind of deal, I never really pursued it. So at a young age, I remember growing up watching a lot of YouTube videos, and one of the big ones I would watch would be like Alex Farnham. I'd watch Alex Farnham and Ryan Higa on YouTube, and I'd just be watching their skits all the time, trying to replicate them. And I remember my dad, he took me to work one day, and his coworker was just, he was in between doing work, but I would always bother him. His coworker's name was Raj, and he had like a Sony camera, and I was like, "Hey, Raj." He'd be like, he'd turn around. He's working, but I'm a little like 7-year-old at the time, just bothering him. Like, "Hey, can you film me doing some stuff real quick?" And then I would like turn around. I'd be looking out in the window, and I'd cue him in. I'll be like, "Okay, ready, on my cue." He's like, "Are you ready?" "No, I'm not ready." And I'd be over there just directing him how to cue me in, and then I'd do some kind of weird stuff. I was just, in my mind, it seemed like a funny thing, and looking back at it, I'm like, what was I doing?
Do you have any of those videos around still on Raj's camera?
I have like three clips that
I would love to see those. I'd love for you to send those to me if you can.
Very embarrassing, but just looking back at it, I was so open to doing that kind of stuff. And like how you said, class clown, I was never a class clown. I was always kind of in the back of the class, kind of just staying quiet, not really only interacting with people that I kind of really knew and were comfortable with. But the only time I would actually be extroverted would be if we had like presentations, I would like to always do some kind of skit, something to kind of like get the class laughing. So that would probably be the closest I would have been to being a class clown, but not so much as like throughout the day. No, I'd be quiet the whole time.
So as an introvert, as a football player, how do you make, and as a security guard, how do you make that transition to full on go into content creation?
Oh man, a lot of free time. Too much free time. Yeah, I don't know. So with the content creation thing, like I said, I hadn't touched a camera since I was elementary school, and trying to replicate all Ryan Higa them and Alex Farnham and doing all that kind of stuff. But I think it was around my college time, just going from being in a 7-period day at high school and then only having 2 classes a day in college. That kind of opened up my eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have like all this free time now. Like, what do I do? And at the time, when I was in college, Vine had just come out. And of course, I'm scrolling and I'm looking, I'm like, oh, this is cool, you know? And seeing all the short form content with the 6 seconds, you got to tell a joke in 6 seconds. So I was kind of attracted to that. And I had a couple ideas in my mind that I ended up shooting on my own and putting it out there. And when it received, you know, shares and stuff, and people were like liking it, and it gained like a small little community, I kind of was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Kind of got a little dopamine boost, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna keep doing this. So I just kept chucking away, putting out random local content and whatever came to my mind. And then eventually I ran into other people in public that did Vines too, and I'd see them, other content creators. One of them specifically, Bronson Varde. I had class with him at West Oahu. We had a songwriting class, and I saw him. I was like, "Hey, you make Vines?" And he's like, "Yeah, you do too." I'm like, "Hey, man, let's get together and make a Vine one day." Because I would always see like the mainland guys doing it. So I was like, "Okay, yeah, maybe we'll link up." And
the local Logan and Jake Paul over here.
Kind of deal. So when I saw that, I was like, okay. We ended up hitting it off right off the bat, and then he had this idea to kind of push like a YouTube page. So he kind of met with me and then his other good friend from high school named Pu'uvai, and we formed this group called Lethal Giggles. And that kind
Great name, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It took us like 2 hours to come up with that name. We're like, Lethal Laughter. No, Giggles for something. And we were like, no, that's not it. Okay, Lethal Giggles. Like, oh, okay, cool. Let's settle on that. So we pretty much settled on that and started writing our own skits and in script form and everything, rehearsing it, and then shooting it the day of, and just kind of putting out content, overloading it during these times in college. Then, of course, once we all graduated, we all got majority of them got real jobs, and and everybody kind of split their ways. But yeah, that's.
And then you stayed in it for the most part, or what was that period like?
It's kind of been like 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of deal for me, because originally I was doing it for fun. Like it's just like linking with the boys and just being creative together, putting out funny, wanting to make people laugh. And we would get a lot of messages like from people saying like, oh, you don't know how much this means to me. Like we had a really rough year so far, and my parents just passed away, or my dog just passed away, and just watching this video really brings joy to my heart. So just seeing that kind of stuff, like, damn, maybe we got to keep doing this thing. So it kind of made us feel good about what we were putting out there, instead of just like lucking and chucking just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
So when we saw the impact it had on the community, it kind of got us to take it more seriously and put more out there and just keep going at it.
Do you ever get negative feedback? I'm sure that's not all positive.
Yeah, no. There's definitely the keyboard people in there, in the comments here and there.
I know you probably can't repeat exactly what they say, but what are the kinds of things, the gist of what they tell you, and then how do you deal with that?
So the first one that I remember getting to me a little bit was I never had straight teeth growing up. So I always
Straight
had
now.
Yeah, now they are. Now that I could afford to pay for braces. But I had somebody in the comments talking about, like, what's wrong with his teeth? Or why does it look so effed up? And I'm like, it took everything in me to, like, comment back and something, something witty just to, yeah, I had the last say. But then it kind of, after going through so many comments of negativity, I'm just like, it's cool. Like, I'll say something to myself personally, like, and then just let it go. I won't even respond. I'll just
Because you're probably not going to change their mind.
Yeah.
You're probably never going to meet them.
Very much so. Yeah.
If their comment isn't something constructive, then
Yeah.
you can probably just
F off.
the nicest way to say that.
Nicest way, F off.
So with dealing with the negative feedback and just any other struggles of putting together content, and whether it's writer's block or anything that's tough in content creation, what would you say is harder? Playing football, content creation?
Oh, playing football for sure.
Really?
I mean, the content creation too. Like, I remember I was actually watching Alex's podcast last night with you, and he was saying how you can have a set idea, like something that sounds amazing. You put so much hard work, effort, writing into it. You put it out there, and it just flops. Whereas you have a small little idea. You don't think it's gonna go anywhere. You put it out there, and it blows up, 1 million views. And when I think of that, it kind of, at least for the social media game, kind of told me, don't take it too seriously, kind of deal. Just, whatever I feel at the time, I'll put out. But as of now that I'm transitioning more into doing real acting, the content creation's kind of been slowing down a little on my end. Just if I have something that's really I'm passionate about, like oh man, I'd love to shoot this kind of funny content, then I'll definitely put a effort into putting that one out.
Yeah. With that transition into real acting, we'll get to what I mentioned at the very top was you've worked with some very big names. Little list. We have Bruce Willis, John Travolta, Jennifer Coolidge, Aubrey Plaza, Michael Fassbender. So these are, I don't know how closely you worked with them, but these are some of the names on the projects that you've been on.
Yeah.
What's it like working with them, whether it's directly or just kind of being around a project that's linked to someone of that magnitude?
Yeah. It's interesting because you see the different characters, but you also see the actors behind and the actresses behind those characters. So, for example, when I saw Michael Fassbender for the first time, I was always kind of stoked. Like, all the boys were all on this Samoan soccer team movie called Next Goal Wins, and everyone's like, "Oh, Zole, that's Magneto," and we're like, "Yeah, we're doing some stupid stuff around him." But he ended up being like a chill guy. He was totally down to earth. He talked to everybody, pretty much gave everybody the time of day. It wasn't one of those that nose to the sky, didn't pay any acknowledgement, like I'm better than you kind of deal. So you see all different types of characters like that. It's inspiring, I would say, just to be in and around the area that they are, and just knowing that they're just normal people like me. They get up, brush their teeth, hopefully take a shower just like me. And that just leaves room for inspiration to, maybe I can be there one day. So,
have you said that Michael Fassbender, gave the time of day to speak with everybody, whether it was him or any of the other names? Have you gotten any like one-on-one conversations with them, and where they've given you advice or anything like that? Or
I would say, I forgot what the name of that one guy was. But as for Michael Fassbender, I haven't really, because when you're around the A-listers, the industry standard is you're not supposed to interact with them, especially if you're just a co-star, or you're supposed to stay away from them. So majority of the times I try to just keep my distance. But if they do talk, then of course I'll interact. But there's this one guy, I think he was the lead on White Lotus, and I had a scene with him, but he was just pretty much giving me the breakdown of how long he's been in the industry and just telling me like he finally got this break, and it's been a struggle, but he's enjoyed the process kind of, and just giving that inspiration to keep on going and just don't give up, even though it's like pretty much the field of rejection. You see more no's than you do see yeses, and when you do see the yeses, which people see, they don't realize that you've gone through multiple no's to get there. You know, sometimes people can hit it right off the bat, but it's definitely not an overnight kind of thing. It's a grind. It's a grind. It's not for the faint of heart. So,
yeah, and I'm sure that, like you said, you there's a lot of rejection, and then you finally get a yes, and then even you get that role. There's no guarantee that role's a hit.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of
shots
trial and error,
yeah.
right? There's nothing that's saying that even the yeses that you get are what's really going to set you apart. So you're putting a lot of faith into every one of your roles.
Yeah.
What do you prefer more? Do you prefer acting on these bigger productions, or do you prefer just content creation for more social media?
Acting on these bigger projects for sure. Yeah.
Oh.
Because now that, I mean, ever since I made that decision to kind of hang up football and I finished my degree, I got to a point where I was looking at like, okay, now what? What can I do with my life? What do I want to do with my life? And what kind of impact do I want to have after I leave this world, you know? So acting was calling me at the time. I did 2 years of just extra work. And I remember my first day on set, it was on the set of Snatch with Amy Schumer. There was like a comedy, a Mother's Day comedy. And the first day I got there, I knew it. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to pursue and put everything into it, whatever I have to do. And so from there, it sprung the 2 years of doing extra work and just enjoying it. I enjoyed it and slowly started to build my resume up to the point where I reached out to an agency, ended up getting some auditions and booking some roles, and just snowballed from there, and it just felt right to me, you know? But the thing about the industry, it's like you can be high one moment and then down in the dumps the next. So after I would book these roles, it just seemed like everything was about to take off. Pandemic hit. Thankfully, during the pandemic, I ended up booking that White Lotus role. Got on for like 3.5 months. We were staying in a 5-star hotel. It just felt like, man, this is crazy, you know? This is what it's all about, and I'm feeling great. And after the pandemic hit, after we did that filming, came back, and it was just, I think it was that Bruce Willis movie.
Paradise City?
Yeah, the Paradise City. And that movie flopped. That movie flopped. I didn't even watch it because I just heard how horrible it was. So,
you didn't even watch your own movie?
I didn't even watch my own movie.
Were you the chief of police in that? That's what I read.
I was the chief of police in that.
The chief of police?
So originally, I went up there to do extra work because that was I had auditioned for one of the roles. It was a warrior role, and I think Chad Owens got it. So, but they were offering extra roles if you wanted to be, you know, so Chad Owens, and then you're a warrior amongst Chad Owens. I'm like, you know what, screw it. It's some kind of work. It's, you know, it's hard times right now. I'm down. So I booked a flight to Maui, stayed there for about a week or so, and they were looking at me and they're like, hey, you want to read for the chief of police? I'm like, you bet your skippy duty I do. So they had me read for the director, and he made me the chief of police. And he's like, okay, well, your scene's later on tonight, so go get dressed and we'll get you fitted and we'll get you in the scene. So
I don't know if it was the only scene, but I saw this scene where I don't know if it's John Travolta or Bruce Willis is being like carted away in the background. And it's like the end, it seems like.
Yeah, it's definitely the end of the movie. So, and it's funny because they weren't there when we shot it. So they did a little movie magic to the point where they used the doubles, because I guess Bruce was having some kind of sickness at the time, and John was just he was the kind from what I heard, he was the kind that he wanted to shoot all his stuff on a couple days and then bounce. So he pretty much did that, and he wasn't even on island. So technically, wasn't able to work with them or interact with them, but in the scene, it looks like they're all there. But yeah, where was I going with that? Totally got lost.
No problem. So you've been on a ton of things. I'll list off. We've already talked about White Lotus, Next Goal Wins, Paradise City. That was with Bruce Willis and John Travolta. Doogie Kamealoha, Magnum PI, Hawaii Five-0. What's been your most favorite? What's been your favorite production to work on thus far?
Next Goal Wins.
And how come?
So that story pretty much highlighted the American Samoan soccer team. From I think it was like 2011 or something like that, but they're pretty much the worst soccer team in the in the world, and it's pretty much like a comeback story of underdog story of how they come back and finally win a game, and just that set alone, it was just you're stuck with a bunch of other Samoans and Tongans and Polynesian people of all Polynesian races, and it just felt like a big family reunion to me. So every single day was something new, something fun and exciting, and we're just joking around. It didn't feel like an official set, really. It just felt like a big party the whole time. So I would easily say Next Goal Wins for sure.
And I mean, something that's always kind of interested me, I don't know if the viewers ever think about this, but like, how do you go about memorizing your lines? Because I know for me, right at the top, I had to redo our intro, and that was only 2 sentences. But, if you're doing a long monologue, how do you go about memorizing that? What's that process like?
Repetition, just nonstop repetition. Thankfully, for when it comes to all these auditions that I've been doing, my mom is amazing. She helps me out with a lot of them, and just repeating like over and over and over and nonstop to the point where like some days I have to like take a break, and then surprisingly if I kind of engrave it into my mind the night before and I come back the next day, it's already there for me personally.
And do you have to memorize it word for word? Can it kind of deviate as long as you get the point? Or
I like to do 2 different takes. So one, I like to do verbatim for sure, just because I don't know how the writer or the director. It's kind of that's the thing about the pandemic. With the pandemic happening, a lot of the stuff is self-tapes now, so you don't get that personal feedback like you would in an in-person audition. It's pretty much another shot in the dark. You're just kind of guessing what the director wants, what the director is feeling. So just so I don't want to step on any toes, I try to do one verbatim and then one how I would deliver it, like how I would
improv,
say. More improv style, kind of like become that character, but how I portray it. So
that's what the audition process is like now. You're shooting on like a tripod and you're sending it in?
Yeah, very much so, with like ring lights and everything, and 2,000 plus takes.
Do you or did you ever do the in-person auditions prior? Which do you prefer?
I like my anxiety levels definitely go way higher when it comes to in-person, but like I said, the personal feedback is what I feel is important when it comes to the casting process too. Because then from what I've heard, a lot of the casting process, they look at like, as long as you make it past the look department, like, oh, this looks like a guy that could be digging in a trash can. Let's use him. Then they want to hear what you sound like. If they don't like your voice, even from the smallest things, they don't like your voice, boom.
Really? Like, what's an example of that? Have you ever been in that situation where they're like immediately like, oh, sorry, Russell, it's all good?
No, I haven't, not in person wise, but I'm sure I've had it virtually from these self tapes, because a lot of your auditions, you send every single audition, you send in a slate, and a slate is pretty much your handshake to the director, like introducing yourself. And I've heard just from people that I know that are in the casting department, they've cut people just based off of their slate or the way they look.
What is the slate? You're saying like,
so, like,
hi,
I'm Russell Satele, 6 feet, home base Oahu, list models and talent. and then you do like quarter turns, you know, full body shots and stuff like that.
And they're just like, I don't like his left side.
Yeah. that left ear, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not hanging for me, so.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine that sort of process just being the daily routine.
Yeah.
So when you don't have a job booked, do you have like a normal 9 to 5? Are you doing anything outside of acting and content creation?
Yeah, so I'm super thankful for this guy. My boy Crichton Nwale. I met him on a web series, and he actually owns his own wedding DJ business. And back in 2017, he asked me, he's like, hey, so like, you wanna work, get some, eat some good food, drink some good drinks, and get paid to party? Say less. Yeah, I'm down. And so because of that, I've been working with him.
So you're a DJ? Is that what I take? Because I actually did read that as well.
Oh, I spin a little. I'm not the best, but you know,
you mix it.
I mix it. I mix it for
sure.
You
have a DJ name?
I don't like to, you know,
it's self-promotion,
DJ
man.
Dangerous.
What is it?
I'm just DJ Dangerous.
That's perfect.
But
Lethal Giggles, Dangerous. You're a name machine.
Yeah, because you never know what you're gonna get with me. So it's either gonna be really good or mostly horrible. So
it's dangerous to book you.
Yes, very much.
You don't know what you're gonna get.
You don't know what you're gonna get. So
what's more difficult? I keep asking in comparing jobs, but what's more difficult, the DJing or acting or content creation?
Ooh, man, that's hard. I would say DJing.
And why?
DJing because you never know what you're gonna get with me. So, but every crowd is different. Like having to learn and adjust on the dime kind of can be troubling at times, especially disheartening when you see you have a full dance floor and then you play one song, everyone splits, and you're just panicking. Like, I would say that. Yeah,
you're in charge of the vibes.
Yeah, you're in charge of the vibes, keeping the pace and just keeping everyone entertained. So I do feel the pressure sometimes, but there's some days where it's like I'm feeling it, like, and it's working really well. But most times,
I mean,
I think it's a challenge for me.
I think for someone our age who goes out to a club or a bar and the music's not good, right? And you're kind of like, what is this guy playing?
Yeah.
You don't want to be that one, knowing what it's like on the other side.
Nope.
So have you said some people have split. Has there ever been a venue, or is it weddings that you're doing, or?
It's weddings, yeah. So I think the first gig I ever booked was a wedding gig, and me and my friend Bronson, we were sent out he was emceeing and then I was DJing. So he does the MC, but the crowd was kind of whack already. It was a crowd visiting. It was a destination wedding, so they're not from here, and they were just kind of doing their own thing. But I would play, like, I think my first song was Return of the Mac. Everyone was vibing, and I was kind of in that zone where and then I what was it I dropped? I dropped something where, like, I kind of read the crowd. I was like, okay, they would like this one. I dropped it, and everybody was just like, and they all walked off. I was like, damn, they really like looked at me and said, nah, this ain't it, fam. So, yeah, it's always a gamble. You never know what kind of crowd you're gonna get that night, because then they will be very energetic sometimes in the ceremony during the cocktail hour. They'll be very loud, and then we've had some gigs where you think these guys are gonna be really great dancers and great performers and stuff, and they don't even get on the dance floor, and my homie's dropping good tracks and everything, and they're just not dancing. As
a DJ, what does it seem like is the one song that can 100% get people going?
100% get people going. I've seen that Dancing Queen.
Oh, ABBA.
Yeah. Dancing Queen does get a lot of people going from all,
walks of life.
All walks of life.
That's interesting.
Dancing Queen, Low by Flo Rida. Everybody just...
It's funny you mentioned that. So me and my friends, we went to a Flo Rida concert. It was the rock concert for the Troops.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
A couple years back, and I think Flo Rida was the headliner. And me and my friends were joking ahead of the concert. We were like, "Oh, it's Flo Rida. Like, that was honestly like one of the best concerts we've ever been to, because it was just hit after hit after hit that everyone knows, right? Because he's one of those like Billboard Top 100 artists, right? He's not doing songs that you don't sing along to.
Yeah.
He's doing songs that
like
everybody knows.
That everyone can dance to, sing along to.
Again, so no hate on Flo Rida.
Yeah.
He put on an awesome show.
Damn.
So for you as a DJ, as a content creator, as an actor, I read that you're the youngest of 4 siblings. What do they think of, and your parents think of you being kind of a personality, a public figure?
So at first, everyone was, my sister was very, she's always been supportive of me being creative and all that. My brothers as well. But when it came to my parents, my mom was always, of course, number one in my corner. But my dad was always the go to school, get a good job, and get a degree, and, you know, do it this way. This is how you're supposed to live your life. So he wasn't as supportive. But then when he started seeing, like, you know, I'm on movies, I'm on TV shows and stuff like that, he would, and then his brother would reach out like, hey, you know, Russell's doing this, that, and he's like, oh yeah, he is. Like, still wouldn't give me that acknowledgement, but kind of like, hey, you're doing kind of good, but you're still gonna be a doctor. You're still gonna be a lawyer.
You could be the star of a blockbuster, and he's like, when are you gonna give up this silly acting dream?
Every single day, bro. Like, I'm getting roasted every single day by that man. Love him to death, though. But
so I saw that you are trained in stunt fighting, and there's a video out there. There's a reel.
My name is Russell Satele. I'm 6 feet, and I am trained in stunt fighting.
To the outsider looking in, it might look a little humorous. I mean, for me, I'm a fan of WWE, so I can appreciate, you know, the theatric fighting. Yeah. But as someone who's actually gone through it firsthand, what is stunt fighting like?
No joke. It is no joke. That is definitely a talent in hand. It's exhausting. Like, I've only done like training. I've only done training and classes and as well with actual people that have been in the industry. And after a day of that, I felt like I got hit by a bus kind of deal. Like, my body is so sore. I felt like muscles that never existed start existing.
But you're not being hit, right?
But we're not being hit. No, you're just doing the motion. You're falling. You're slamming your body on the ground. You're pretty much learning how to roll, fall, do all these kind of things, and hand-to-hand combat fighting and stuff like that. So it's definitely taxing on the body for sure. So kudos to the actual stunt actors out there that can do it all. Like my boy Saxon Sawai, he's tremendous. He's probably one of the best stuntmen right now, stunt actors right now on island, and it's crazy. It's a crazy experience, and just to be able to put your body through all that and do it multiple times, I can't.
So you haven't actually had to do any stunts for movies?
No, I have not been hired to do any stunts yet. But
would you be willing if they
I'd
said,
be
"Hey,
open to it. Yeah, if they're willing to let me, you know, try to punch some people or make like."
What about like, hey, Russell, we're gonna need you to like
roll
fall
down
off
some stairs?
this.
Yeah, no, maybe not.
No,
maybe not. I'll stick to the acting side of that. Yeah.
In the stunt fighting class, did you ever, by accident, get hit or accidentally hit someone?
Very much so. Yes. So one of my good friends, Blaze Cosner, I felt so bad. One of the stunt women from Black Panther had come down to teach a class. So me and him and my boy Saxon had joined that class, and we were paired up as partners. So we're doing the drills. She's walking us through like a 1-2 combo kind of deal, and me and Blaze are mirroring each other. And mind you, you're supposed to keep your space in a lot of it because it's all about camera angles. It's all about where they place it. So as we're doing the stunt, she goes like 75%. All right, make sure you keep it 75% and go. Like, we start off small, and then we end up big all the way to a full speed. And we were at the 75% mark, and we're going through the motions. And I throw my jab, and he pretty much I nipped his eye to the point where we had to go to the emergency room later that day, and he had to get stitches on his eye, and his eye was just like, oh, it was crazy.
I don't know
And
if
I
that made
felt
you feel
horrible.
good because you're
Oh,
like,
no.
I pack a punch.
Oh man, that was probably one of the worst days. And I heard it connect, and I heard him go, oh, and I was like, oh, my bad. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to, And then I look, and then it's just blood is gushing out of his eye, and I'm like, damn. I felt horrible. The whole class had to stop. They're separating us, and pretty much we had to take him to the doctors right out immediately. I drove him there. We got there, and he got the stitches and everything, and it looked horrible. It sucked.
You've went to other stunt classes since, stunt fighting classes since?
I think I did. Yeah, I did one more after, and then I just made sure I kept my space the majority of the time. I don't care if it looked bad. I just made sure I was.
You're like, I've had an experience.
I've had an experience. Just keep your distance, please.
Yeah. Have you ever had to be in a real fight at any point? Does this stunt fighting actually help do you think, in real life? Or even if not, have you been in a real fight?
Believe it or not, I've never been in a real fight.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm a lover, not a fighter. But, if it ever came down to that, I'd probably, use what I learned in the stunt class and just get a little closer.
There you go. Yeah, it's just like, all right, I got to close that gap.
Yeah, just close that gap, which obviously it worked with Blaze, so it's possible.
There you go. You have a good punch.
Yeah, so, we'll see.
So near the end of this, what is next for Russell Satele? What's next on that itinerary of projects?
Man, I ask myself that same question every single day. I look in the mirror. Just as of now, I'm working on and off one of the working sets right now, just as doing stand-in work, and so I'm just trying to get on something life-changing. I missed a life-changing opportunity 2 years ago. It was literally like neck and neck. Came down to where I had to cancel one gig that I had booked in potential that like I would, book this other gig. It didn't work out, but found out that I was like pretty much up there with the top guys, and I was like, okay, well it's good to know that I'm in the
what was that
realm.
gig? Can you say what that was?
I think it was a Chief of War with Jason Momoa and stuff like that. And we were doing the audition process. I think it started in like March of 2022, went all the way up until October. So I was doing callbacks all the way up to where I was with the producers. Everybody but Jason pretty much was in that Zoom call. And I just remember feeling really good about the character, delivering all these, these scenes for them over Zoom, and just feeling really good about my delivery, and just it felt like I had gotten it. And a couple months passed by, and it's getting closer to that October deadline where they're going to start shooting. And in between, I had booked something on my own. It was this USC thesis that my boy Peter Filimawa was shooting, and he wanted me to audition for it. It was called Philly, and I had booked that role. He pretty much accommodated the lodging, the flight, and was going to fly me out there on this specific date. So I agreed to do that since I wasn't hearing anything from the Chief of War people. And as soon as I'm on the plane, I'm getting calls from my agent, and I'm thinking, oh man, maybe she's like calling to yell at me because I booked this on my own, which she's never like that. She's totally cool. Whatever I book on my own is pretty much me. So I don't answer it because it's mid-flight. I don't want to get cut off. As soon as we land at LAX, I have all the missed calls from her, Katie Doyle, the main casting director here, and just multiple messages, where are you, and stuff like that. I'm freaking out. So I call immediately, hey, Lashana, sorry, I was on a flight to LA, and she's like, oh no, I got a hold of your fiance, and she was saying that you had booked a gig over in LA. I'm like, oh yeah, I was just gonna do this real quick, but I was gonna fly back. Everything all good? And she's like, well, the Chief of War people are inquiring back, and they kind of want people that are up for the role pretty much on island at the time to possibly do the screen tests and stuff. So I'm like, oh yeah, so I'm just gonna, I already kind of agreed to do this gig, and I was just gonna do this real quick. I'll be back by that deadline. And she's like, oh shoot, okay, I'm gonna try to call and see if you're able to do that, and we'll work something out. by the way, this is the budget. Boom, she drops the numbers to me, and I'm like, oh, that is pretty life-changing. Okay, cool. I'll see what I can do. Pretty much she calls back and says, yeah, if you could come back literally that next day just to be here. And I was like, can we guarantee, like, we can book this role? Is it possible? And she's like, they're giving us a hard time. They're not confirming nothing, but it's up to you. We don't want to pretty much tell you what to do, but this is what it is. And so in my head, I was like, damn, life-changing event or this lead role that I had booked. And I'm kind of like having to weigh my options, going crazy.
Like a bird in the hand, two in the bush. Which one do you go
Yeah,
with?
it's like, which one do I do? Shucks. So and this is my first time meeting Peter, and he's super chill. You know, he's opening his place up. He booked all this stuff for me, and he's trusting me to bring his story to life. And I pretty much I broke it down for him, and he was more supportive of me taking that leap of possibly life changing. You know, they were gonna reach out to the other guy who had auditioned as well to see if he's available to switch us out. So pretty much he switched us out, and then I flew back, got back on island, didn't hear anything, and I was just like, damn, that sucks.
Do you know the other guy personally that got the role?
That got the role? I don't know him personally,
Okay.
but he's definitely a hammer.
Okay.
He's definitely a hammer.
Are you gonna watch Chief of War and be like, screw this guy?
Nah. I'm gonna watch it and it's nice to see Polynesian stories being, you know, told at the forefront. Even though it was like, you know, a personal situation for me, like just seeing it all come to life from a Polynesian point of view with everybody's kind of like on this wave of Polynesia, I'm with it.
A win for him is a win for everybody.
Yeah, very much so. But it just kind of like, it was affirmation to me, like, okay, I'm in the right room. I'm moving the right ways. I just got to keep working harder.
Your name is being floated around.
Yeah.
Some of those big meeting rooms, those big conference rooms.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
So just trying to stay motivated is the main thing. But yeah.
I mean, so what is your ultimate goal? Is it to like star in a movie, in a TV show, or what?
Like, that's the thing. I don't really want to be like I don't care for being an A-list actor or anything. I just want to be able to act and be able to be financially good just by doing what I love. That's my main goal.
Like a character actor almost, where
Yeah.
you know these very memorable characters, and it's not necessarily associated with you know Russell Satele, but you remember the character.
Yeah, very much so. So if I can book a role that can be life-changing and just put me in the position where I could possibly inspire other people, that, you know, show them that, you know, it's possible for a local boy to be able to do this kind of stuff, then I'm with it.
I mean, that
That's
sounds
the main thing.
that sounds like a perfect way to end
Hey.
the conversation on inspiring others. And Russell, I do want to thank you for coming in and speaking with me.
Appreciate
It's
you, brother.
been awesome getting to know you, hearing your backstory. I hope everyone at home enjoyed it as well. And for the next time we come back, this has been Slow Your Scroll. Thanks again. Thank you for listening to this episode of Slow Your Scroll. For more episodes like this, head to hawaiinewsnow.com/podcasts.